What's up, print fam? Welcome back to the print shop. Recently I asked in the Facebook group what videos you wanted to see from me. One of those highly requested is how I make stickers. So I'm going to show you the entire process. I've got a sticker job today. We've got to print it, laminate it, and cut it. So I'm going to walk you through all of the steps that I take to do it. Some of them are not going to be super detailed. You can find other videos on my channel specifically like loading a roll of vinyl into the printer. It'll be different for your printer versus mine, but I have a video on my printer already on the channel. So let's get started. I use Flexi for my stickers. Let's get it open, get the job going. One thing I would always advise you is save everything. You never know if a customer is going to repeat an order. As an example, this order is for Space Station Gaming. They want a reprint. So it's super easy for me to just come down here, select the job or jobs that I want, and reprint it. I always like to save the stickers, and I highly suggest you do the same thing. Save all your files, because you never know if someone is going to want to print it again. Now, in this case, I already have my cut line set up, so I am just going to copy this real quick so that I can show you how it's done. You can right-click and clear the contour cut. So let's zoom in a little so it's easier for you to see. Whenever you're doing a contour cut, select the item or items that you want to do it around. Go to Effect, Cut Contour. Here you can see I have a rectangle. I don't want it to be a rectangle. I want it to be contour cut. And then here you can set the dimensions. So you can have it be as far or as close as you want. So once you have it where you want, you just make sure you press the check mark. And now it is saved. Again, you can right click, you can clear it, you can separate it so that you can modify it however you want. It's not always going to be perfect, but it is way easier to do cut lines and contour cutting in Flexi, I have personally found, than doing it in Illustrator. That is a look at that. Basically, now that that's done, we will, wrong button, we will select the one that we want to print, come up to the print icon, and this is where it's going to load all the parameters and allow you to do multiple up. You can select the quantity. I try to, whenever I'm doing hundreds, I try to batch them in like reasonable numbers. So in this case they want 500, so I'm going to do 108 because I like to finish it off. That way if there's any mess ups, they always have extras, but then we'll just repeat the job 5 times. So I usually don't do more than about 35 inches at a time. So I could bump this up and do like 125 or 150 or something, but just 5 sets of 8 or 5 sets of 108 is what I'm going to do. So you can set basically gaps between the stickers, both horizontally and vertically. You can change quantities. You can resize them if you want to. You can change this buffer at the bottom so that it's not as close or it's farther away. You can come in here and you can do your profile. I have the media in and the printer's not on, so I'm not going to do that because then it will freak out. You can also come here if you're doing multiple cuts. You can set what blade it is. You can set different settings for it. So in this case, I want it to be the cutout knife. It automatically loads my tools for my Suma based off of the cut profile that I have set up here. I've only got one on the machine. So from this point, you would just click send, which it's hard to see, hit send, and then it's going to send it over to Production Manager. You can see I already have a list of jobs in here. It's going to put it, the way that I have it set up is it puts it in the queue. I use it to go to the rip so that it does all the ripping. Once it's done ripping, then I send it to output, which actually sends it to the printer. So I'll get that part done. I'm pretty sure I have these stickers in here already because I literally just did them last week. So yep, these two right here. So I'm going to rip them one more time, which is super simple. Just move them up. It's going to process the data real quick, and then once the data's been processed, then I'll move it up to the output queue, which is for printing. Now, before I run stickers, I always like to check the length of media on the printer, and I also like to feed it out so that there's room for the laminator. So I just lift it up, it wakes the machine up, it's going to do its auto calibration stuff. So you can see here we've got 100 feet left, so all I do is click move, brings up the arrows, and then hold the arrow to feed it out. Again, the purpose of this is to assist with laminating at the end. So I like to feed it out so that it's about to here, basically the end of the output, so that we have something to connect the take-up reel to, and then basically the part that's finished printing, we'll feed it out some more so that we have some room to feed it onto the laminator, and then the initial part is the space at the end of the laminator. So we've got the stickers all printed. So now what we do here on the printer is we want to feed it out so that we have some room to feed it into the laminator. So we feed it out. I usually feed it out like a foot or so, and then cut it off. So we still have the take up on so that it will roll up more completely. I try not to let it touch the floor just so that we don't get dust and debris and other stuff on it. And then now that it's done, I come over here to the table and I put it down, and then I grab the whatever this is, dowel, spindle, rod, and put that on. And then typically we've got the old one on here, which I need to cut off some extra. So I always just take the old one, move it from the front to the back. This is a keyed slot, so you have to make sure it's in the right way, and make sure you lock these down, because if you don't, you'll have a bad day. I've done it. So now that that's set up, we grab the new one. Again, it is a keyed slot. Make sure you lock it. And then for me, I've chosen, there's ruler marks on all of these. I've always chosen to set up at 30, which is an arbitrary number on this system, but I always line up every roll on 30. So the output roll is on 30, the laminate's on 30, the take up for the laminate's on 30, and then I set this one. If you want to come here, we just want to make sure that everything lines up the same, so that when we're running it through the laminator, it is lined up. So from here, we've got the leftover part from the job previously. I always just put it on here and use pressure and the old vinyl so that I can use it to assist it through. I always try to stop before I get to the actual stickers, because sometimes if you stop on the stickers, you'll get like a line of air. So now this is good. We'll come to the back side. This fed properly. Sometimes on my machine it will feed below and it will start going under or have problems. So I don't like to feed it completely until I know, okay, we're in the right path, we're in the right spot. Now we know that we are lined up. We've got a roll of tape here. Put it on here. I don't want to quite attach it yet because it's not quite as far as I want. But from here, what I'll do is I'll reach over to my control panel, and there's a continuous button, which means I don't have to push the foot pedal. So I'll push continuous. It's going to start rolling, and then I just want to make sure I tuck the sides in. Sometimes they buckle like that, and so I just want to make sure that I get it as flat as possible. So then I make sure I don't see any creases or air bubbles, and just let it run. So you can see here, it's just feeding from here, going through, getting the laminate on it, and once that's done, we'll get them cut. So now that it's almost done, we're going to wait for it to feed through, which is why you want the white space at the beginning. You want it to feed through so that we can cut it off. So I just push back to inching mode, which puts it back on the pedal. Just leave this as is. I just leave it. I only offer one type of laminate, matte. If I ever offer another one, I will probably buy a second laminator because you'll lose a bunch of media and it's just not worth it. So now that this part's done, we grab our razor blade and we come to the back side and simply cut it off. Now, if you're using a traditional roll cutter, then you would probably want to use the edge slitting. That way you don't have, like on this side, you can see that there's excess adhesive, so you'd want to use the edge slitter so that you can slit that off while it's running. I don't really have an issue with it because I use a flatbed, and so we don't have those issues with it sticking and causing a problem. But once that's done, we just take this off, come over to the cutter, drop that down, put this back so we know where it is, turn the laminator off so I don't forget, and now we start the cutting process. So we pick up the vinyl, get it up on the table, and start attempting to roll it. So with my cutter, I have to keep everything behind this line for cutting. So basically the two lines on both sides are the cut area. So as long as it's within that, it'll cut it. If it's past that, like if I try to start it here, it's not going to work. So here it works. If the design was longer, it will do what it can, and then it will slide it forward. But that's part of the reason why I try to do it in sections, just because it makes my life easier. It's easier to count, knowing, hey, there's 5 sections of 100, etc. So the first thing that we do is now we need to pull up the job. So we come here to the Summa, we go to barcode. I should make Taylor do this. We can see here this is the camera, and we need to have the first registration dot here on the camera. The camera is in the lit area, and so we use the keyboard to put it where it needs to go. You can see here that this is where it is. For whatever reason, it's not liking it, and I'm an idiot. We're looking for the barcode. So you want to put it below the barcode. We're trying to load the job. That's what you'd do if you already had the job up. This is why I should make Taylor do it. So below the barcode, now it's going to find the barcode and scan it so that it knows what job it's supposed to cut. I'm feeling quite sheepish now. So now it has the cut job. And here we need to make sure that we're running the right tools. So this is blue, it's a through cut with a double edge, so it's set correctly. We have another job later on that's through cut and kiss cut, and so we're going to have 2 different lines. We'll show you that later, and that's where we could set that it's a through cut and a kiss cut. But this is correct, so now we'll just output to sheet. Now we use the camera to find the first registration dot. So now that dot is within the camera, up here on the screen. It's highlighted in green saying it found the dot. So you click apply, And what it's going to do is search for all of the known registration dots and then start cutting the job. Ta-da! So once they're done cutting, it's just a matter of popping them out. I do it different than Taylor. Taylor likes to sit down, roll them, and do them one at a time. I just stand here and I will pop them out. I'll usually go about halfway up the row and just work my way down. And then once they're done, you got a nice sticker. So if you really want to go fancy, you could shrink wrap them. We typically just put them in boxes. This customer gives them away with all their orders, so they like to have them just in a box so they can grab them and be done with it. So that is the process of starting at the computer and setting up the file, printing it on the HP, laminating it, and cutting it. If you guys have additional questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments. I appreciate all of you for watching. Again, if you have questions or if there's any relevant links, I'll put them down in the description. And as always, Print Fam, we'll see you in the next one.